Hello and welcome to the Garden Next Door. I'm Danielle and today we are getting into it in the garden because we are prepping our garden for the winter. Fall preparation is key in order to make sure that your garden is thriving for spring when we can be planting again. So although a lot of your vegetables and plants are starting to die back and you aren't spending as much time in the garden tending to them or harvesting, it's really important that you're spending a lot of time prepping your garden now so you can have success in the spring. You're gonna have all winter off, so we need to get our hands dirty today so that we can make sure that we're good to go in the spring. So let's head into the garden and talk about what I'm doing to get my gardens ready and to prep them for a nice, long, comfy winter. Come on. Okay, so we are growing some fall plants and we have some plants that are still kind of working their way, like our zinnias over here. They're dying back, but we're letting them do their thing. We're gonna do some seed collection, but there are some beds like the one behind me that is just ready to go to sleep. We're also actually doing a lot of work in our garden. A lot of our Douglas fir wooden raised beds have just had better days. We've had them for around 5 years now and they have not held up. So we are going to be trying to do gardening in the ground in the back of our garden. So we've actually taken apart a lot of our beds so that the garden is just a mess right now. If you see crazy things in the background, that is why. But let's talk about how to actually prep our garden. Now, I've started to prep some of this and then I was like, you know what, I should be sharing this with you all so that you can be prepping your garden in the same way. And if you're a beginner gardener, this is really important tips that have really helped my garden and my soil become a lot more nutrient. Before we go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of what you should be doing to prep your beds, let's talk a little bit about why you should be prepping them. Now, the first reason that we want to prep them is really to prepare them for our next growing season. But we also want to make sure that we're able to get a lot of the nutrients that has been stripped from them during this growing season. There are some plants that take a lot of nutrients out of our soil, like corn really just pulls a lot of it away, while there are other plants that give into our soil nutrition. A lot of those can be some plants that you can be growing during this time to help prep your soil, and we will get into that. Another thing that we can be thinking about is preparing our soil so that it doesn't erode. Now, although you might not have the heat of the sun during the winter time, you are going to still have a lot of sun beating down on your garden bed, and this can ruin the integrity of your soil. So we do want to make sure that it's set up for success and really ready for you next season. Lastly, we want to make sure that we're really protecting the biology within our soil. We're protecting all of those beneficial bugs, our worms, and anything that can bring more nutrient into our soil, and we're creating an environment for them to actually thrive. Another great thing we can be doing during this time is by creating environments for our bees and pollinators to also thrive. Things like leafy piles, dead leaf piles, which we're going to be mulching with, are going to be great spaces for our queen bees and other bees, some of our pollinators, to go into during the winter to stay warm, rest, hibernate, and then come back come the spring. Step one of our garden prep is going to actually be removing some of our dead old plants, and we're going to be talking about 2 ways that you should be removing them. So the first thing that we want to think about is for any of our clean, good plants, we can just cut them back a bit. And if you cut them into nice small pieces, you can actually mulch a lot of the greens back onto your soil. So this is really going to help make sure to bring back some good composting areas in your soil. So all you really have to do is take your nice green leaves and cut them back onto here. It's great and dandy when you have a nice, beautiful plant, but if you have a plant that may have gotten any type of disease during the year or any type of infestation, any molds, we really don't want that plant in our garden. So what we want to do for those are actually clip it and we're going to throw it away. You really don't even want to compost these. If it's a nice, good plant that had nothing wrong with it, then we can take it and drop it straight onto the soil and then mulch over it. We can drop it into our compost, we can give it to our chickens, whatever we want. But anything that may have had a disease, we really just want to take the complete plant out of the ground. Now, usually what I say is if you have a plant that has no diseases on it, we can just clip it right at the root. I'll show you what that looks like. Here, if there's no disease, we really just want to go as close as we can to the ground and then clip it with our clippers. This way we're actually leaving all of the roots down in the soil, and this is going to make sure that you're not actually messing around what's going on in the soil. It's going to keep the soil nice, nutrient, and it will break down the roots down there and deliver more nutrients into the soil. So we actually want to keep our roots down there as long as it's a nice, healthy plant. And then we can just take the tops of our plants and either compost them or stick them in the trash. We're also cleaning up all of our garden utensils, like our tomato cages, so it starts to clean up a little bit in here. Okay, whew, it's starting to get a little hot in here. Okay, so I went ahead and gathered a bucket of some soil because we're gonna actually be taking one of our plants, which is our pepper plant here, and we're going to cut it back down. So we're gonna take all of these beautiful pieces on here. I am gonna remove this. We're gonna cut down some of our big stems here, and I will just mulch them back down into the soil here. And what we can do with this pepper is actually keep it, and it's already going to be started and ready for next year. So that is going to be really fun. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take this back. So it already has created such good roots and it's created a solid plant. It's had a full growing season, but we can actually save this. So I did luckily keep the nice label on here. So I have that, and I'm going to dig a nice root ball around our pepper so you can kind of feel for where its roots mostly are. Okay, so I've essentially just repotted my pepper plants. I am going to go ahead and leave this out. I'm going to water it a little bit and just make sure that it has some nice fundamental roots in here. And then right before our first frost, I am going to take this and put this into an area that is protected from the wind. So think a garage, a shed, anything like that. And then next spring, we can actually take this out and it will start growing again, but it will already have had such nice root systems that it will be nice and fruitful come next year. So you kind of are cheating and you have a free plant if you think about it. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this right by my hose so I can make sure to keep this growing. And we have one other pepper plant I'm gonna do the same thing on. Outside of peppers, you can also be taking any of your herbs or plants that you might wanna bring in for the winter into your house. So you can go ahead and start to plant those in pots as well. And next up, we're going to rake up some of the fallen fruit and vegetables that are in our bed. Anything that can get quite moldy or have any type of diseases, we really don't want in our beds over the winter, because it's just going to mean that we're going to be more disease prone come the spring, and that's exactly what we don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and rake up my bed and take all of this out as well at this time. Now, lucky enough, we are trying to attract some deer for deer season, and we have a lot of fallen tomatoes that I think our deer are really gonna love. So that will be nice and fun to get those deer over there and not attract them to our garden. Another thing to think about is if you have any labels or materials that are not organic, to take these and dispose of them, because you don't want them laying around in your garden. The next step is actually adding organic matter to our soil. You want to spread around 1 to 2 inches of finished compost, aged manure, or leaf mold. This feeds the soil biology over winter, and there's no need to dig. It just lets the worms get in there and lets them work into the microbiome. So I love to let my top toddler come help and dump in leaves, spread them around. It's messy, fun, and good for the soil. Next up is step 3. We'll be adding soil amendments. So for this, you can be adding rock dust for minerals, bone meal for phosphorus, anywhere you might have some rooting plants or bulb, wood ash. You want to do this in moderation, but this can help add potassium, and just sprinkle lightly over everything. Don't overdo it. Next up is adding a cover crop. Now, cover crops aren't mandatory. This is definitely an optional 4th step, but this is a great way to add nitrogen and prevent erosion of your soil. So you want to sow them now in the fall and let them sprout before the first frost. You can mow or cut them in the spring and then plant right into the residue that you have there. And this is great because it's going to add so many great things. So you can be doing some crimson clover, rye, and just scatter the seeds wherever your garden beds are. Next, step 5 is mulching the beds. You're going to do this very easily. You can do this with leaves, straw, wood chips, and go 3 to 4 inches of mulch. This is going to insulate your soil, suppress weeds, and protect the microbes. It's free and abundant in the fall, so collect any curbside leaves, sign up for mulch drop, and get those free bags. Mulch is like a blanket for your garden, and the thicker, the cozier it's going to be. And then come this spring, we will just rake this up. Step 6 is protecting your perennials. So mulch heavy around perennials, mark their locations so you don't disturb them in the spring, and then check on your fruit trees by mulching around the edges, and we might need to actually bag some of those as well, depending on if it is a cold hardy plant or not. Let me tell you, fall garden prep is not for the weak. It is going to take some elbow grease, but you're going to be so happy in the spring when your soil is prepped and ready for you. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions on what you should be doing to prep your garden for next spring, then follow along and make sure to download our free fall guide using the link in the description. We'll see you guys again next time. Bye.